brilliant. It's a hero maximum. On the ground, down the ground, another hero maximum.
Righto, welcome back to the Max Imperial Podcast. My name is Munter. This is episode 62, and holy shit, what a day 5, what a 5th test, and what a series, fellas. Today we are breaking down one of the greatest test series I can remember. We have Lugsy and we have Jacko with us today. But I'm going to start with Lugsy because I personally, and a lot of people felt after day 4 that we had no idea who was going to win that test, but not Lugsy. And he didn't just say it quietly. He said it loudly from the rooftops. Social media, if you're wrong, you get hammered. Exhibit A. This man was adamant. He said, sell everything, chuck it on England. So the question is, Lugsy, how much did you make from that massive punt you were saying to do?
Money-wise, 0. Respect-wise, though. Respect-wise, maybe a little bit, you know. It wasn't quite time to part with the figures. I couldn't actually sell them, unfortunately. And as you so nicely as you showed, Munter, my bank account's at about a $5, so you know I needed to get some chewing gum and a Lift Plus for work, so I couldn't use that. So yeah, sadly, no money made, but maybe a bit of respect from some of the punters.
How easy is it, Jacko, to punt when you're not actually putting up money?
Yeah, really, you can really start firing out some different sort of odds, can't you?
Yeah. What was your thoughts going into day 5?
Yeah, I think like we sort of spoke about it. It just feels like the great what if this test series. Like, what if it didn't rain in the 4th test, or you know, what if England had played Wokes and Wood earlier? Like, it just feels like we got such an amazing series and such a like great last day, but there's still like so many what ifs over what is one of the great Ashes series. It's a sort of bittersweet last day because you were sort of hoping that was going to be all the chocolates, 250 runs to score, 10 wickets to get, and it would have been just made for an even better arena. But hell of a day's cricket and hell of an end to a hell of a series.
Yeah, well put. And like you said, it would have been that much better if that was the deciding test, but we still got an unbelievable series. So we thought we might pick apart this series if we can. We won't have enough time to completely pick it apart because it has got that many layers. It's not funny. But we thought we would give out some Ashes awards. So our 4 awards we're going to be giving is the moment of the series, and there's so many of those. The best batting performance, the best bowling performance, and we're going to do our team of the series. And we've also got a few questions chucked in from our awesome followers throughout the pod. And we're going to start with one which stuck out for me because of one word. And the question is, who deserved to win the series from VIPS? That word deserved is really triggering for myself because it feels like participation stuff. But I want to hear your thoughts. Lugsy, who deserved to win that series?
Look, I don't want to sit on the fence again, but I was thinking about it a wee bit today, and to be honest, 2-2 to me seems right. I actually think 2-2 feels good. I know England's had all the running as of late, and so I think that's made everyone think a lot of people think they deserve to win that, especially not getting the chance to win that 4th test. But look, I personally, after 2 tests, I know they were tight tests and they could have gone either way, but I thought Australia was better. And I thought England had all the work to do and all the adjustments to make, and to their credit, they made a lot of them. But that third test as well, I mean, that could have gone either way as well. So the first 3 felt like they really could have gone either way. And I just think 2-2 in the end is actually pretty fair.
Jacko, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on I had something visceral for this, and this is probably a good time to bring it up. I mean, England are doing the great wool over the eyes job here. All this, we've changed cricket. The only thing England have failed to do in this series is win back the Ashes. Aussie have won it 4 years in a row. England have failed. That's all this series can be down to. So Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of it going on about England still deserve it, but they didn't win the first two tests. Aussie did. They hold the Ashes, balls in their court, Ashes retained. England can do all the same they like, but I mean, Aussie have it retained. It's in the locker. Aussie probably go 5 in a row next summer. Unbelievable from England to sort of pull the wool over the eyes of the public and think like moral victories and we deserve this and we've played great cricket, but you haven't done the job. So you don't
100%.
say this at a World Cup. You don't say this at a World
Well,
Cup
we
if you
did.
miss the quarters.
Black
Yeah, we
Caps,
did.
we did 2019, but yeah, I get your point. But if I hear the words like we felt or morally one more time, I'm gonna fucking lose my shit because
Yeah.
as good of a series this would be, I'm not gonna miss the whinging, the moaning, the carrying on. Because like you said, Jacko,
Oh,
England have sort of made it seem like they were far and away the best team and they were robbed. If that's the case, why is it a draw?
Yeah,
Why?
see, I feel like when I was going to say to all people was going to get a bit of pushback, like, no, England were clearly better. And I was thinking, I mean, probably not quite as strong maybe as Jacko, but totally agree that, like, this hasn't been an England-dominated series.
no.
Australia were 2-0 up and had a chance to be 3-0 up. And the same thing England's saying about the first two being close could go either way. Aussie can say it about the third test too. So, yeah, I just think, as I say, I think 2-all's fair series, and Aussie's really the big winner, I guess, because they take home the Ashes.
Yeah, if you want to
100%.
say that this was a very even contest, but I'll give the slight edge to England because they had the running of three tests. I'll allow that. But any suggestion that they were far and away the best team is just you haven't watched the
Yeah.
series. You haven't watched the series.
No.
So,
And I think Crom's nailed it. Like 2-all feels about right. It feels like the closest test series I've probably ever watched. But at the end of the day, that's all Aussie needed it to be, and they keep the earn. And that's like it's the same as a World Cup. Like these are massive, massive moments in cricket, and yeah, they keep the chocolates.
100%. Right, let's move on to our first award. Now, most of these awards I've tried to split up into like your top fours, but I didn't want to do this for the moment of the series because there's just so many. So I'm gonna list out a few. If you've got any more for nomination, please do chuck it in. I'm trying to do this in chronological order. So I'm going to start with the start of the series. And the title of this moment is Moeen Ali Lol, meaning when Jack Leach was injured and Ben Stokes sent him a text saying Ashes ? And Moeen Ali said lol. The introduction of Moeen Ali in this series as a moment. Next, we've got the first ball of the Ashes, Zach Crawley for 4. It's Stephen Harmison stuff. It's everyone's going to remember
Clouds
it.
coming in for you at that point.
Yeah.
Dark clouds rolling in.
Circle stunned. Yeah, starting to get real with it under the collar. The Nathan Lyon injury in the second test. Massive, maybe not that test, but later on it was. Later on in that test, the Bairstow stumping just had a whole lot of connotations on and off the pitch. Moving on to the third test, Mark Wood's first spell. One of the quickest things you'll see, knocking over Kawaja. And we'll move on to the fourth test, just the rain, just that rain. That's the big what if. Like, doesn't rain for 2 days, England probably win. What happens in the fifth test? And my last moment, I've got Stuart Broad retiring. So have you got any more for nomination, fellas, at the tip of your tongue?
I'll probably chuck Nathan Lyon batting in there. There's some pretty chat stuff sort of coming around about he went up to the physio, he said no, went up to Cummins said no, went up to Andy McDonald said, well, I was going to come and tell you to bat anyway, so I'll go have a chat with the doctor. So yeah, that was pretty big, I thought.
I think there's been, like, I won't say it's one individual moment, but the sort of the constant outside talk of who's retiring, who's not. That sort of feels like it's, who's in, who's out. That's sort of prolonged this whole and been a story the whole 5 tests a wee bit. I mean, I don't think it's going to be the moment anyone remembers, but as it happens, just a lot of talk of retirement, who should be playing, who shouldn't.
Yeah, I if I had to pick, like, if you're talking like what was the turning point of the series, it feels like it was the Mark Wood first spell. Like, it felt like there was something new, like a new shiny toy. But if I look back in 5 years at this series, I potentially won't remember that as much as just Stuart Broad retiring and getting the
That's
last
it.
two wickets. Like, it's just that's going to live on for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
So
like I would say, like there's things that will get shown in every package, probably in every Ashes going forward. Like how you say with that Harmison first ball, we'll probably see that Crawley boundary every Ashes package just to start the series. That Bairstow thing might, anytime they want to spice the Ashes up, they'll probably play that. But yeah, you're not going to beat one of the greatest Test bowlers of all time retiring and taking the last two wickets. I mean, that is going to be the standout memory of this Ashes.
Jacko, what's your moment? What are you going to remember most about this Ashes series?
Yeah, I think Broad's up there. I think for me, it's the dual spin injuries. Like, I think it was that sort of toying with, like, okay, how did England respond? Took them a couple of tests. How did Aussie respond? Probably took them three tests. Like, I still don't know if Aussie got it right going into the last test without Lyon. So, I think for me it would just be that the spinners, the adjustments both teams made, sort of that lasting moment. I think Lyons was huge. That's when it felt like it went back to evens. I think with Aussie in the close games, Lyon felt like the difference. Especially that first test, he was magnificent with the ball compared to sort of what has happened to spinners and Baz ball leading up into it. So yeah, for me, probably Lyon going down, very, very similar to McGrath stuff. Aussie held on in this series, but yeah, that could have been a catastrophe for them and the foot in the door for England.
I think you do sort of get the feeling in 10 years when people look back on this series, there's going to be a chance everyone goes, did you watch that series? Yeah, what happened? Oh, I think Broad took the last couple of wickets. England won the last test. I'm pretty sure they won that series with a 3-2 or something. Like, they've just created all the noise around the series.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first two didn't count because we can just, write off tours that don't count and series we don't win. So England win 2-0.
It's a very anti-England stance we're taking.
It's an interesting start. So we will move on before it takes another direction down that alleyway. But let's do our batting performance of the Ashes. There's a lot of options here, but I've narrowed it down to 4. But I want to hear from you guys afterwards. So my top 4 in no particular order. Khawaja's 141 in the first test. Just felt like that set the tone. Like, there was a connotation that Khawaja couldn't play in England, and that just sort of set the platform for his massive series. Stokes 155 at Lords, the almost innings, like it was Headingley on steroids. Speaking of Headingley, I've got his 80 in the Headingley test, that in that first innings. I think there's an argument that was the turning point of the series, where England were miles behind in that test. And if Stokes doesn't do a half Headingley there, they don't, to get to parity, it'd be interesting to see how the rest of the series goes. And my final one is Zach Crawley 189, proved all the doubters wrong. Not me though, but it was an unbelievable knock, and it's one that he can hang, like, people are going to talk about for a long, long time.
Yeah, probably like 2 innings spring to mind. Probably the Mitch Marsh 100, just sort of coming out of nowhere. The big bison, hell of a knock. First bloke to score 100 on his summer holiday was one of the great lines. And I think Marnus's 100 deserves some real credit, because he was like in a real hole there. There were some real sort of demons there, and for him he sort of pushed Aussie to the rain with that 100. So without that, Aussie could have lost that test within 3 days, I thought. So two big hundreds there as well that could go there. But yeah, I think we'll get to it. But Zach Crawley's 180 was pretty magnificent.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're quite aligned here, Jacko, because I've only got 2 written down outside of Munter's big 4, obviously, and that was Mitch Marsh and Marnus. So I think just Marnus's innings, as we said last week, I think will go a bit underrated. I thought was much needed at the time, and that could have really made it 2-all. We sort of didn't know the rain was all coming and got them out of a wee hole there. And then Mitch Marsh, just because it was so, he basically played his way obviously into the team there, and it could have been anything with him there. Like, if he had failed, it would have put a lot of pressure on that Aussie side. They were already struggling with what team they wanted to pick. So for him to actually stand up was pretty important. But yeah, I thought the best innings is it's probably Crawley or Stokes. The big hundreds, Crawley's probably got to take it. I mean, some of the hitting Stokes done in his innings, his 150 was incredible, but Crawley, when you're doing it from the top, I think it's always just that bit harder, isn't it? So pretty impressive.
Yeah, well done up, boys. Right, bowling performance. There wasn't as many bags. There was actually only five wicket hauls, so it was quite easy to narrow it down to our top four.
I feel like we're all going to be pretty aligned on this, aren't we?
Yeah, so I'll leave my favourite towards the end. So I'm going to start with Chris Wokes, 5 for 62 at Old Trafford, his first fifer against Australia. Mitchell Starc, 5 for 77 at Headingley. Cummins, 6 for 91, also at Headingley. And my personal favourite, and I think a genuinely iconic series, looking back, it's going to be like not quite broad, 8 for 15, but one of those iconic spells. It's Mark Wood, 5 for 34 in that first innings at Henley. It was fucking rapid, and it changed the series for mine. Boys, any other suggestions, or are you happy with that one?
Oh yeah, I think that's clearly like the spell of the series. That's when everything changed. Another hark back to Lyon. I thought what he did in the first test overall was pretty special. Sort of going in, spin was the cannon fodder for Bazball, and he sort of to take 8 and sort of really stand up against them. I thought he was exceptional in that first test. But yeah, that spell of Woods, that was game changing. We've been calling for it for sort of weeks on end for him to be in the 11 and for him to make that impact straight away. Yeah, there wasn't a better spell in the series or better day of bowling in the series.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think because what made it so fun was the expectation was through the roof for it. Like, everyone was waiting for, is this going to be the thing that changes it or gives England that next sort of. It was like they were bowling all right, but when they needed wickets, they didn't have a real go-to to just rough them up and bowl quick. And he came in and just delivered from ball one, bowled quick. Often, it's very rare that like a series would change. A spell would change a series, but it really felt like it did. Like, it just gave England that next option they needed. So, yeah, no other option for me.
No argument.
Felt like Johnson 09 stuff.
Yeah, there was a bit to that. Right, let's move on to our team of the Ashes. We'll start at the top because I think it's pretty easy. I think it's obviously Khawaja and Crawley, the two top runs getters. I'm actually going to stitch his up, boys, because I've actually got a game centered around Crawley and Khawaja, and I haven't prepared just at all, which I like. I just want to put in perspective how good these two were.
Okay.
So in Ashes cricket this century, Khawaja's 490 runs puts him 10th on the most runs, while Crawley is 14th in the last 23 years. Can you guys name the other 13 on that list and list above? To give you a couple of clues, we're obviously talking Ashes legends, and there is a total of 10 names. So there's one guy that was on there 3 times. That's a wee hint as to who that might be.
Oh, so it's most runs in a series.
Most runs in an Ashes series over the last 23 since 2000. It's going to be slightly different than your normal top 10. We're not going to do a timer. You're going to have basically every time you have a wrong guess, you lose a life, and you've got 3 lives.
Okay.
And then once you're done, you're done. We'll move on. Okay. So
all right,
all good. Right. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Michael Vaughan's had a couple
he's
of big
there. He's your 4.
Yeah, he's had a few massive series.
I'm going to say Ponting's got to be on there a few times.
Ponting is at 5, 06, 07.
Yeah, got to be.
Alistair Cook must have 1.
Yeah, that's
number two, 10, 11.
Steve Smith, that last Ashes must be up there.
3. He's on there 3 times. So
Steve
that is
Smith's
a big.
times.
He's on there. He's your 1, your 3, and your 9.
That's a handy cricketer.
Yeah.
Has Pup had a big? Has Pup had a massive
surely.
Ashes?
Is that a guess?
And the way you've said that
We'll
makes
hold
me
it.
think maybe he's never. How big's? Yeah, maybe he's never had a biggie. I want to throw out someone like a Jonathan Trott or an Ian Bow. Have they once? I'm not gonna, but I'm just.
Can you pick one of them?
Surely Warner's had a big series.
Warner's
In Aussie.
8, 13, 14.
Yeah.
Can I chuck out Jonathan Trott before he lost it mentally?
No. Good guess, but no. So that's one down.
Can I chuck out Ian Bell then, please?
You can.
Go
Bang. That's your 7.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. How are we feeling about Andrew Strauss?
Yeah, I think he's a must.
Yeah. Strauss has got to be on there, doesn't he?
That's a no. He's not on the list.
Oh.
Okay.
Straussy!
So you got one more life. You've got 1,
All right.
2, 3. You've only got 3 to go.
Yeah.
No, 4. You got 4 to go.
Got to be
I've got that.
he?
Yeah.
Who?
KP's had to be on.
KP
Kim
is
Peterson.
13, 06, 07.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 to go. You've got a keeper. You've got a left-hander.
Yeah.
You've got 2 left-handers and a keeper.
Did Hayden
Crom,
and
I'm just
Langer
gonna-
ever go?
Yeah. Hayden Langer Gilchrist, surely.
That'd be outrageous.
Okay, I'll give you Hayden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
because you said that first. So
Yeah.
give me 2 more.
Oh, what
So
about
we've got a keeper.
So we're looking at like Gilchrist, Haddon, or like Matty Pryor.
Did Haddon have a big? I can't.
I feel like he's
I
had
can't
like
have
a
him
series
being
of
on that
60
sort of a
odds.
league.
TikTok.
Nah, so we've got a left-hander and a wicket-keeper left.
2. A left-hander and a wicket. Yeah.
Left-hander. Surely not.
Hussey?
Hussey
that
is
could-
your 6. One more.
I really want
Just
to
your
be
keeper to go.
too.
TikTok.
That's a huge guess. Lucky I've got over you there. Should we just go Gilchrist, Crom?
I thought we did. Was that not note?
Yeah, we go Gilchrist.
Surely
yeah.
Gilchrist is the only good enough
It's
stick to be top.
Brad Haddon. Haddon. That's your last life, unfortunately. So
I would have hated that too.
to put it in
averaged
perspective,
like 35 for that series, probably 35 every innings with the tail too.
Yeah.
I was very surprised that Gilchrist wasn't there. So yeah, that's tough.
Pretty
So
impressive,
13,
man.
13, 14. So that puts in perspective how good these two were. But that leads into another question from a listener called Blake. He said, "Who do you think was the better opening pair between the Australians and the English, I should say?"
It's very close, isn't it? I think they were 1 and 2, and then with Duckett and Warner like 11 and 12 or something in the runs. I personally felt I thought it was Warner and Karaja personally. I thought it's hard because they all had their ups and downs, and I think the Warner conversation's been an interesting one because it seems in some circles like people think he's had a decent enough tournament or Ashes, but to me, this is a wee bit of a side topic, sorry. But it just felt so weird that the way like we're talking about Warner having a good Ashes is him like making 30 and not going out to Broad. Like that is not where your frontline opener wants to be. Like that's not where a good Ashes should be considered. But that's just a side note. I will go with him and Khawaja though. I just felt it. I had slightly more confidence in them anyway.
Yeah, I don't really remember anything Duckett did after like the second test. It's sort of like obviously Crawley was gone and Brooke and Stokes and Bairstow went gun. So, but yeah, it also felt like all we've talked about is how often Warner got out to Broad. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think Crawley probably maybe edges England ahead for me because he was like phenomenal in the back end and set the tone for them a lot. But yeah, it's a coin toss, isn't it? As Crom said, it's 1 and 2 and 11 and 12. So yeah, I'll go England to give them some roses because I do think they've played very, very well in this series. I think it's just the outside noise has been a bit annoying to listen to, but the actual cricket that's been played, fantastic.
Yeah,
have you got the stats here, Munter?
Yeah, so you got Khawaja at 1, Khawaja 1, Crawley 2, and then Duckett slightly ahead of Warner. So I
Do
gave.
you know what the opening partnerships averages were?
No, I don't have that many stats on me.
I'm sure Aussie
I'm
would.
not.
I feel
I'm
like
not.
Aussie would have been slightly ahead.
We're the Sky Statsman in the corner.
I do know that Duckett and Crawley was like the best England opening partnership since Strauss and Trescothick or something like that on average.
Well,
So they had a really good series, and for me, I gave them a slight edge just because of the like the pace at which they scored. Like they constantly they sort of really took the sting out of the Australian attack a lot. Like a lot of the times they were all out to a fly, even if it was, like 40 for none after like 8 or something like that. Like they did that quite regularly. And it got an interesting stat for years. So Crawley, obviously 480 runs, striking at 89, which was the highest strike rate of any batter for both teams. And then you got Usman Khawaja, 496 runs. His strike rate was 39, which was the lowest strike rate of any batter of either series. So I found that quite interesting that it just shows that there's no right way of playing cricket that England keep going on about. You can just do it whichever way suits you. So I thought there was, Crawley's innings were great, but it was also good to see someone like Khawaja sort of battle it out as well.
100%. It's sort of honestly like not going back to this punt from last night that I didn't actually do, but
Make a punt.
it is why I wanted to sort of favour England, because I was like, I know we're living in a time where chases are happening more often, but I was like, it's still Test cricket, and 250 on a final day has always been hard as far as I've watched. So yeah, it is good to see there is still the old school cricket is still going well.
Yeah, for sure. Right, let's do our middle order. So here's my middle order. I'm just going to chuck out my 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then you guys let me know what you think. I'm gonna make Root bat 3. I still think he should be batting 3. 412 runs at 51. I've got Harry Brook at 4, 363 runs at 40. Stokes is going to bat at 5. He doesn't need to be an all-rounder. 405 runs at 45. And I'm going Mitchell Marsh as my all-rounder, 250 runs at 50. Incredible from the big bison. So that leaves out your Marnuses, your Steve Smiths, Travis Head. I think going into the series, you're looking at your 1, 2, 3 best Test players in the world, not really fully delivering, I guess, if you know what I'm saying. So what do you boys take on that middle order?
Yeah, I think probably in terms of like how they've gone in the series, it's probably right. I'd make an argument Smith probably could slot in at 3 and slot everyone down, and have your keeper at 8 potentially, because I'm not sure if either keeper batted extremely well for the whole series. So Smith showed glimpses, but yeah, as you said, I mean, performances wise, that's probably the best 4 in the middle order there. And I mean, we were sort of talking Head as a potential sort of man of the series in that counter-attacking role for Aussie early on, and sort of Marnus and Smith trying to prove people wrong overseas, and none of those 3 really like kicked on and really put their stamp on this series, which was probably where Aussie were lacking, if they look back. So yeah, I think that's probably it. That's probably your best 4 there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. If you're doing it purely on the series and not, who would actually pick going forward, that feels fair. I mean, Brook and Root, undeniable for me. And then you got a wee bit more maybe of a question, depending on who you're going to have as your keeper as well, and what sort of attack you're going to play with. But yeah, happy with that. Can't throw a flag on it.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, Smith averaged 37, Head 36, and Marnus 33. So that moves on to my keeper. I actually had Keary in there for quite a wee bit, but his batting was a lot worse than I remember. Like he just, apart from that first test, like watching that 5th test live, I never felt like Keary was a chance doing it. Like it's that classic Bill Simmons. Did you think that shot was going in? Like, I never thought Carey was going to do it. Like, but whereas Bairstow actually had some innings and he ended up averaging 40 with the bat, played some really good innings, and the keeping improved. So having all the bashing about Bairstow, I'm going to go Bairstow at 7 for me. Where do you guys? Yeah, where do you guys land?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you want out of your keeper. If you want batting and glove works aside, if you want keeping, you probably go Carey. So, yeah, I know my personal opinion is, yeah, I was going to say maybe Folks is the best keeper in the series still, after 5 games, but yeah, I mean, I think you're picking which you'd rather have, and I'll be the devil on the shoulder and say I'll take safe gloves over 25 days over maybe another sort of 30 runs a test. So yeah, give me Carey.
I like that from you, Jacko. I won't do it myself, but I like that someone's gone traditionalist and gone picking a keeper.
Spoken like a fast bowler.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I'm hoping when I nick off the guy behind the sticks has got nothing, and you're hoping he catches everything.
100%.
I thought Carey was good enough throughout the series. Started well and played it. Yeah, had a couple of real chances to be a hero too, a couple of times, and probably fell a bit short. But I still fall in love with the extra depth that a real good keeping batter provides, and I think Bairstow's genuinely elite as a stick. So I couldn't go past him personally.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's do our bowlers. I think most of them picked themselves. I think obviously, Woakes and Wood are going to pick themselves. I don't think that's tough to argue. To be fair, Woakes, man of the series, 19 wickets at 18. Wood, 14 wickets at 20. For my spinner, I'm still going to go Nathan Lyon, even though he's injured. I just think he was without doubt the best spinner by a mile, and he did play in that series. So I'm gonna chuck him in that side. Now, my final bowling spot, I don't know, because it's between Stark and Broad, and I could go either way, and I want to be convinced. So Stark, 23 wickets, the leading wicket taker at 27. Broad, 22 at 28. Retired though, so does that count? I don't know. So where do you guys land on that?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think, like, Stark, leading wicket taker of the series, you've got to maybe take the tradition, like the weird part of my cricket brain goes left armour, good to mix it up. 2 right armers, lefty and a spinner feels nice. But then, Broad did have his moments of brilliance, and a new ball or a swinging ball Broad in England's pretty hard to turn down. So, I'll pretty on the fence, just like you, Munter. But I mean, I thought Stark was pretty exceptional. He constantly took wickets against an England side going at him. So, I'll maybe sway it to Stark that was the only thing going to peg England back, and he did it sort of pretty well.
Yeah, look, you've asked me to pick between Stark and Broad, and I won't. I'll drop Lyon.
Not a bad take.
Quite simple for me. I won't be playing a spinner. Joe Root will do a job when he needs to.
Stokes is doing a job too.
I'll just go an all-out pace attack. I'll have Wood. I'll have Wood, Stark, Broad, Woakes, and I'll just try and take heads off.
Smart. That's probably the correct decision, actually, picking them both. And I don't hate it because I felt like they both deserve to be there for sort of multiple reasons. So that's our side. So we've picked Duckett. No, sorry. We've picked Crawley, Khawaja, Root, Brooks, Stokes, Marsh. We're split on the keeper, and our bowling we're going Woakes, Stark, Wood, and Broad. Right. Okay, let's look forward to the next series going forward. There's actually no Test cricket in the world until November 28th. So we're in a bit of a hiatus coming through. So we've got a question.
Q&A's coming up.
Yeah, we've got a question. Yeah, a few Q&A's, a few all sorts. So this is from Josh from Instagram. Which current players do you think will be retired next series? Obviously, Broad's retired. Mullins confirmed he's retiring. He said that he will basically block Ben Stokes if he asks him to play again, which felt aggressive, but that's neither here nor there. So what other names do you have got? I've got Jimmy. I've got Wokes potentially. Obviously, Warner's going to retire by January.
Warner's done it. Yeah, Warner's done at the end of the Aussie summer. That's a lock. I tell you who I think won't retire is Kawaja. I think he'll go for another Ashes.
Yeah, I can't.
Cool.
I just think he's batting too well to quit.
Yeah, Stokes' body's breaking down by the second, but I just can't see him missing an Ashes. You've got to remember, like a lot of these guys, that's probably once the series sort of gets over with and they have a wee recap themselves, that's probably their next big target. Like that for a lot of them will be like, that's how maybe that's the one thing that'll try and get me through these next 2 years is the focus of that one last Ashes series. So you never know what
Anderson,
2.5 years away.
I think Anderson. Yeah.
2.5
years.
You
never know with fast bowlers. Like even Wood, man, you're only one injury away sometimes. So
yeah, I was going to say even I could see like a Stark retiring. Maybe from Red Bull. Like
don't chase that money for once.
Yeah, potentially. Even the Hazelwood, like now the injury stuff's starting to come in, could just, like there's nothing more backbreaking than another go at rehab when you've got sort of 3 or 4 months to get back on the park. So, yeah, maybe your Hazelwood, your Starks, there could be one missing there.
What about Lyon?
I wonder if
Lyon can make it. It feels like a changing of the guard almost because 2.5 years is a long time away.
It is
a while away.
Like Nathan Lyon, how he is. I'm just looking up now. I mean, he's 35, so he's going to be 37. Like, how many injuries he's going to get? Like, there's some old bodies. Like Kawaja's 36. Like, is he going to play?
Yeah, so we're talking the 25, 26 is the next Ashes.
Yeah. TMC
I
on tour.
thought it was 24, 25. Yeah. Kawaja will be gone then. I'll walk that back.
TMC on tour.
He'll be long gone. Yeah.
We'll
make it by then, actually. Boxing Day.
Jesus.
Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up? We've only got a couple minutes to go.
I mean, we can, I don't know if we'll probably touch on this series again, especially if we just do like a couple of random episodes coming up for a bit less time. We can probably just dive into this all again.
Yeah. Just quietly, is Wokes the first person to play 3 games and win a man of the series in a 5-match series? Like,
I was thinking that before,
but that's like, when I saw that this morning, I was like, hold on, this guy hasn't played any games.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought Crawley or Kawaja would have won it. I'm very surprised with some of them picks. Stark won it for Australia as well.
Yeah, it feels like they've forgotten that the series was like 2-2 and batting was sort of the thing that had to stand up.
It's another thing England's doing. They're trying to make this a 3-tier series.
Righto, let's wrap this up before it cuts out. What an incredible test series this was. It's going to be good to get some sleep back. I'm not going to lie. But hell of an experience that was. 2-2, probably the right score in the end. A couple of awesome sides going at it. Thanks to everyone for listening to us through that period. If you like what we do and want to support us, please give us a rating review on your Spotify's, your Apples, etc. Helps us out. If you really are interested in supporting us, you want some extra content, Patreon's where to go. Thanks to Lugsy and Jacko as always, and we'll catch you next week.